Hello and welcome back to the Sideboard. I'm Ruben Bressler and I'm here with Reid Duke. Reid, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And you have a really interesting deck. And the thing about this deck is that when land tax was unbanned, people thought that it might accidentally take the metagame by storm, like they would just take over, and that hasn't really happened. But you've managed to capitalize on the card in an area that no one really else has. Why are you playing land tax?
Well, the thing about land tax and the reason it hasn't taken the metagame by storm is it's, a card for fair matchups. It doesn't kill your opponent quickly, and it doesn't stop you from being killed quickly. However, this deck with all the cheap permission and the counterbalance top lock, and Vendilion clicks off the sideboard, everything like that, it has inherent strengths against the combo decks, and what it really needs is just something to put away those close, grindy matchups, and land tax is it.
Excellent. And you have 5 miracles in the deck. You have 3 Terminus and 2 Entreat the Angels.
Yep.
And obviously with the shuffling that land tax gives you and Sensei's Divining Top, those are very powerful. Is that why you chose them as why you chose Entreat the Angels as one of your main win conditions?
Yeah, everything kind of works well together. The Sensei's Tops are good with the miracles and good with the counterbalances. I actually had an interesting match earlier today where I didn't have Sensei's Top, but I had counterbalance and land tax. Actually, twice this happened, and the more interesting time, I was playing against Goblins, and he had Cavern of Souls in play, and every time he'd go, all right, I'm tapping my Cavern to play this Goblin, and I would counterbalance it anyway, and the reason was, I knew I couldn't counter his spell, but I was just scrying. Like, if I revealed a bad card that I didn't want to draw, I could shuffle with land tax for free, and if I revealed a good card, then I could, just scope my game plan so that I would draw it from my draw step.
That's pretty fascinating. Now, another big part of your deck is another card that's sort of fallen out of favor in Legacy, which is Jace the Mind Sculptor, which, of course, is better than all. Yeah. And people just aren't running it anymore. Talk to me about Jace.
Yeah, a lot of times I see similar decks with like 3 Jace, 1 Elspeth, and Elspeth is fine and good, but I think Jace is, blows the rest of the 4 drops out of the water. Again, it's perfect. The Brainstorm, you get to put back your miracles, you get to shuffle away extra lands, you get to stack your deck with counterbalance, and it's a fine win condition too. Especially there's a humility on the sideboard, so those 2 in combination makes it really easy to just ramp your Jace up to 13 counters and exile their library. It's a fine win condition, and it's just kind of the bread and butter card, the engine card.
Let's talk about your sideboard for a second, because you have some interesting ones on the sideboard. You have a lot of singletons in the sideboard, so I'll just focus on a few, and you can talk about a couple of your favorites, but the ones I want to focus on are the Humility, which of course comes in against Bristlebrand, Show and Tell style decks.
Yeah, Humility's a new addition today, and the only time I've had a chance to draw it was in that Goblins matchup, but you can imagine how powerful it is there. Just knowing all his creatures can have haste, they can't trigger their come into play abilities, big difference.
Another one I want to focus on is this Baneslayer Angel. Talk to me about that.
That's my favorite, the most fun card in the deck. It's can come in basically any matchup you want, because most people are going to take out their spot removal, and sometimes this deck has a tough time winning in like 50 minutes. So if you're ever desperate and need to win quick, it's just like maybe you can slam that Baneslayer on turn 5. But it's a very good card in its own right. Rug Delver has almost no way to remove it and almost no way to race it. Similarly, Maverick's likely to side out a lot of the removal. You can cast it through Gaddock Teague, you can cast it through Thalia. And, that often ignored line of text, Protection from Demons, is pretty relevant in Legacy since half the decks play Grizzlebrand.
That's amazing. I didn't even think about that. Wow, that is sick.
Yeah, sometimes you just leave it up to block. They can't attack with their Grizzlebrand because the damage will be prevented. They can't gain any life, and, it just really
nice.
Can shut them down when the game plays out a certain way.
Now, the last one I'll talk about is a card that I was running in the sideboard of my Canadian Threshold deck several years ago at this point, back when the deck was called Canadian Threshold, which is Envelop. Yeah. So you have an Envelop. Talk to me about that.
Well, it's just perfect against all the combo decks that are popular right now. Hits Show and Tell, hits Reanimate, hits Exhume, and hits Glimpse of Nature as well, and Green Sun Zenith. So I don't think I would ever play more than 1 copy, but just like a 1-mana hard counterspell against the biggest problem cards. They never expect it. It's good in the early game and the late games. It's a cheap hard counter.
and you have a couple other things in the sideboard. In addition to the relics, Sensei's Divining Tops, and Engineer Explosives in the main deck, you have Tormod's Crypt, Pithing Needle, Grafdigger's Cage, because you have one Trinket Mage in the main deck.
Yeah, it used to be 2, but one got cut recently because it used to be 2 Trinket Mages and 1 relic, but I realized that I almost always want to draw the relic in any matchup. Trinket Mage is good, but it's just solid. The 2/2 body doesn't do a lot, so the flexibility is something I want to have access to, but it's not something you need to draw every game.
Right.
But all those sideboard cards are good in their own right. For the matchups where you bring them in, they're good to just draw naturally.
Well, okay, so other than a slight weakness to Psychogenic Probe with all the shuffle effects in the deck, what are the matchups like?
To be honest with you, I like almost every matchup with this deck. If there's one flaw, it's just getting unintentional draws once in a while for time. But I would say the toughest matchup is maybe Sneak and Show, but that's only because of the exact configuration I've chosen for the deck. But Rogue Delver's good, Maverick's good, Reanimator, like any graveyard-based deck is fine because you're likely to win if you draw your Relic of Progenitus in game 1. Elf combo is good, or any tribal deck that
Excellent.
Has a tough time with Terminus.
Well, yeah. So if you're looking for a deck to play in the future, and you want to have at least a favorable matchup against pretty much everything, and no blowout matchups, I would assume, in a deck like this, but a lot of really exciting games, a lot of thought going into your games, and maybe you should give this one a try, and you get to try out your land taxes. So, Reid, thank you for joining me in the sideboard.
Thanks, Ruben.